You're ready to buy that new, used-to-you motorcycle. And the target is clear. That certain model maybe brings back memories, or maybe it's just a badass bike. And for the sake of argument, let's say it's the legendary K1 Gixxer 1000. So you start scrolling through the listings and you find some clean, untouched, bone stock machines and you click right past them. Why waste time on a blank canvas when you know there are machines out there where someone has spent thousands of dollars making them better? And suddenly you see it, a fully upgraded, tastefully modified monster. You check the parts list and the conclusion is undeniable. It's a better deal. And this modified machine offers everything a stock bike can't. You get in touch with the seller and the conversation is everything you hoped for. And then there's a bonus. The owner states, this machine walks modern bikes. Case closed. But is it really that simple? Let's weigh the facts. The first upgrade most riders do is swap the exhaust. It looks better, it sounds better, it's lighter. And it lets everyone know visually and audibly, this beast has something going on. Next, a high flow air filter. More air into the combustion chamber means you can add more fuel. Paired with that exhaust, the engine should produce more power. But it isn't. It sounds powerful. However, the seller of this bike went that extra mile. They bolted on a piggyback fuel module, like a power commander, to fine-tune the injection system. The result? Optimized fuel and air delivery. And you guessed it. With that comes more power. Another box checked off. But chasing speed isn't always about horsepower. There's other ways of attaining it. For example, drop a tooth in the front, add 2 in the rear sprocket. The result? Brutal off-the-line acceleration. And that's if you can keep the front end down. And on this machine, the previous owner did it right. 1 tooth down in the front and 2 up in the rear. And the smart thing to do is swap the chain and the sprockets as a kit. And that's exactly what the previous owner did. Another check, check, and check. Some riders say the upgrade's all about the individual taste, but we know it's all about the power. Power enables acceleration. Acceleration gets you to speed, and speed? That's the end game. So here's a question. Is a modded bike a better deal? Let's touch on a few points regarding what can become a deal breaker. But here's the kicker. Most mods won't pass safety. And no safety means unfit for the road, track use only. Well, let's find out which bike is actually a better deal. And we're going to start off with the most popular upgrade, the exhaust system. Most aftermarket mufflers or cans look incredible. And they sound amazing. But here's the hard fact. The moment the factory system was replaced, your bike is likely to fail the safety inspection. And the reason? Look at the fine print. Usually aftermarket exhausts have the off-road use only warning stamped directly into the metal of the canister or piping. That stamp guarantees your bike will fail safety inspection on noise and emissions. Those systems that do comply with emissions and noise standards also have compliance markings stamped on them. To be fair, some non-compliant systems have no marking stamped on them. But as long as the exhaust passes local noise rating, it will pass safety. Going back to the late 1990s or mid 2000s, motorcycle manufacturers introduced a catalytic converter. Yeah, that big ugly looking thing between the headers and the muffler. And if your bike was equipped with one from the factory and it currently doesn't have one, it's an automatic fail. Moving on to the Power Commander or ECU flash. It's essential from getting the extra power from the upgrades. But here's the reality. You're manipulating the manufacturer's emissions map. And the law sees that as a defeat device. The bike will pass inspection as long as those emission components are in place and the check engine or the FI light is not on. The way I see it, the biggest risk in buying a flash bike is a possibility of a bad tune. High flow air filter and exhaust systems can deliver some serious power gains, but the ECU must reflect those changes. The owner might have downloaded a community map from the internet or not flash the ECU at all. If the tune is too rich or too lean, it can damage the valves, valve seats, and pistons, leaving you with a ticking time bomb. Next up, the sprocket and chain. This mod won't add extra power, but if bling is the end game, go for it. A lighter chain and sprocket will make your bike accelerate much faster. That's if you can keep the front end down. But here's the catch. Swapping the robust factory setup for a narrow conversion will fail inspection. especially if your bike carries a label specifying chain size. Manufacturers choose chain spec with the real world in mind. Harsher weather, rough environment, and rider neglect. And you heard that right, rider neglect. I know riders who only lubricate their chain if the bike hits a puddle or gets washed. This is nice. Yet some riders think they know better. Right up to the moment where the chain snaps and takes out the engine casing. Now, I get it. You did your research. MotoGP and World Superbike Series use a lighter 520 chain. And if their bikes can handle the stress, why not a regular street bike? But here's the difference. They replace their chains after every race weekend. To be fair, most mechanics will check for the usual, make sure the chain is not rusted, kinked, or there's too much slack, and that your sprockets are not cracked, have missing teeth, or excessive wear. And that's the practical reality of a motorcycle inspection. Next upgrade, the brake and clutch levers. And honestly, there's absolutely nothing wrong with the factory ones. They work exactly as intended. But I get it. Some riders always seem to have that urge to swap them out for something fancier. You know, those $15 eBay specials. My question is, why? Leave those damn things alone. But if you feel the urge to replace them, at least buy a good quality set. Next up, lights and signals. In this case, lack of. If you swap your factory headlight or turn signals for an aftermarket unit, they must have a DOT compliance label. No stamp means the mechanic can't verify it meets the minimum DOT standards. Let's talk about your turn signals, especially if you're running a fender eliminator kit. Oh, very nice. Oops. The law requires your signals to be a specific distance apart to remain visible to other drivers, usually at least 9 inches in the rear. Here's another point. The mechanic checks each signal to make sure it lights up and flashes at the correct rate. The legal requirement is between 60 and 120 flashes a minute, roughly 1 or 2 flashes per second. Anything over that, and the mechanic thinks there's a fault in the system, which means fail. Ugh. The signals must also be DOT approved, which means the housing or the casing must have a DOT stamp. No stamp, the mechanic cannot verify DOT compliance, and the motorcycle fails inspection. But wait, there's one more light, and that's the license plate light. It needs to be functioning and it needs to light up the entire license plate. No light, no safety certificate. There's a common belief that as long as the tire passes the minimum depth requirements and there's no physical damage, it'll pass safety. But that's not exactly true. But here's the reality. Tire size is not optional in a safety inspection. I personally prefer a taller, wider tire. More contact patch, more grip, and yes, a beefier look. But for safety inspection, the tire size stamped on the sidewall must match the size listed on the compliance plate. This is the tire information on my 2005 Gixxer 1000, and this is the tire mounted on the bike by a certified motorcycle shop. You think the mechanic would have noticed the tire rubbing on the chain guard? Obviously not. Maybe the mechanic can't read. So in conclusion, here's my take. A motorcycle loaded with upgrades is not necessarily a better deal unless it comes with all the factory components. And the reason being, it's gonna get expensive real quick trying to find all the original components just to meet safety standards. I also prefer stock over modified for another reason. You have to trust that the person that did all the modifications did them correctly. Was it professional or was the work questionable? Like on my infamous 2005 Gixxer 1000 Turbo. This is not an electrical issue, but this shouldn't be moving around like this. And it can't be good for a fuel pump to be this loose. And I'm sure this map sensor shouldn't be dangling here like nuts. Keep in mind that some motorcycle shops interpret the rules differently, and the bike with minor faults might still pass safety. And that concludes this video. If you found it interesting, don't forget to hit the like, share, and subscribe button, and throw in a few comments. I hear it helps YouTube algorithms push this channel to more viewers. And if you're wondering, what's with all those boxes and parts? Well, they're for my 2005 Gixxer 1000 Resurrection series. Enough parts have arrived, and hopefully I can get this engine fired up in the next video. And remember, always hug your pets. And thanks for watching to the end. Until next time, take care.